Coming up on episode 102 of PodcastPD, sponsored by StreamYard, we want to help the new first-year teacher. We're going to share tips and tricks for new teachers. Let's start the show. This is PodcastPD, the show that provides you with anytime, anywhere professional development. Our conversations and guests will provide you with the learning you might get in a faculty meeting or on a PD day. Except you're going to have more fun with AJ Bianco, Stacey Lindis, and me, Chris Nessie. Let's start the show. What is up, Podcast PD people? It's me, Chris Nessie. I'm joined by my podcast compadres, Stacey Lindis and AJ Bianco. We're back.
Just
back.
AJ?
Just AJ. Just AJ.
AJ.
Just the way it goes.
It's you. You're back.
It's me. Did you want to go on more than that and actually say yes, I'm back? I don't even know what podcast I'm doing right now. I was going to talk about the Yankees. I was going to talk about leadership. I don't know. You guys are just confused me. We haven't done this in quite some time. So here we are, back on our Sunday night rotation, recording Podcast PD. Look at this. Look at these smiling faces if you're watching the live stream. Just ready to go, tan, excited for the school year to start.
I wonder if it's a tannist. I bet you if we got together.
Well, I don't really get outside.
Everybody put your forearm up to the screen.
I'm going to pass on that one.
No, but it's exciting to be back after some time away. We got some familiar avatars joining us in the chat. Dave Frangiosa, Mel A. Glad you're joining us. Spread the word. Tweet about this bad boy. And, we're going to have some fun tonight. We're going to try and make an episode that's going to help the new teacher. And yes, Mel, I got fancy new glasses. There's a story that I'll save for the end of the episode when we're in overtime. But yes, thank you for noticing. You may have noticed that we had a little bit of a different introduction because we got a sponsor, everybody. Thank you to StreamYard. We're going to tell you a little bit more about StreamYard a little bit later in the episode, so make sure you stay tuned for that. But real quick, before we dive into tonight's topic, summer has been going well for me. I haven't done much of anything other than swim and cut my lawn, listen to some podcasts, finish up some projects around the house. But for the most part, I lay around like Garfield, minus the lasagna.
It sounds like a very fulfilling summer so far, though. And we still have, 3 weeks, 2 weeks? I don't even know anymore. 2? I think my principals or my superintendent shared out that we had 4 weeks before kids arrived last Thursday because we don't go back until after the first Jewish holiday. So.
Same here.
Yeah. It's exciting. But it sounds like you've had a good summer. How about you, AJ? How's your summer going so far?
Summer's been wonderful, surfing around the beaches and visiting different places and, doing all the things that administrators do while they're creating schedules. Oh, right. No, I'm sorry. I'm stuck behind a desk all day, interacting with only about 4 people that I see every day. But that's okay because it's what we do to get our schedule ready for the start of the year. And I'm just joking. It's actually been a great learning experience for me. But had a little vacation with the family, been able to enjoy the afternoons and the pool on the weekends. So, it's summer is what we do, is what I signed up for. So it's all good. A lot of podcasting with Chris every week.
And that principal or that AP podcast that you were talking about, leadership podcast.
Yeah, I love talking leadership. We got the AP roundtable, and I'm jumping in with these wonderful gentlemen from Unlock the Middle Sunday nights to talk about principling and stuff.
And leading.
And leading and learning.
It's actually really good. I've tuned in a couple times throughout the summer. Yeah, it is a compliment. I've seen you lead the round table a couple of times, and I sit back and, like a proud father, I say,
wow,
where did I go wrong? No. No, you've been doing a great job
when you
take the reins. Yeah. No, you did that tonight. And I just kind of sat here and I'm like, all right, I'm just going to let him go. He knows what he's doing. Very exciting.
So it's very exciting. Mr. Podcast.
Stacey, how about you? How about you? Yeah. I don't even have that anymore.
Mr. Podcast. You don't have it? Did you clear the board?
There is no board.
All right. Sorry for the dead air. I'm doing like silent celebrations over here. So my summer has been really busy. I have filled it with a lot of learning and work in my district. I'm writing a lot of curriculum, and I've been working with my co-teacher. I have a new co-teacher for the fall. So she and I have been getting together on some of our other PD times in person, just so that we can collaborate and have in-person conversations, because I don't know about you guys, but if you've done any PD this summer, at least in my district, it's been a mix of in-person and virtual, and the virtual PD is just, I'm not digging it anymore, and I'm kind of over it. And I really enjoy that side conversation where, you have like that little tidbit of like, wait, how's this going to work for us? Or like, what is that going to look like? We're getting new math resources in addition to the curriculum that I helped write for 5th grade. So just even like what those resources are going to look like, what the timing is going to look like in our inclusion classroom. That's been like some really nice conversation that we've had. So that's been really nice. I think, Chris, you mentioned that it was like 16 days of PD on my calendar. It ended up being more than that. And I think I have like 2, maybe 3 more things to do before summer's over. But yeah, it's, I know Mel asked if that's enjoyable. The curriculum writing has been mind-blowing and very informative. And it's exactly what I needed at this point in my life to be a better teacher. And I highly encourage anyone who is given that opportunity, or that opportunity becomes available to them, go for it, because I learned a lot this summer and this is what I'm entering my 20th year teaching. This is the first time I've felt so grounded and rooted in the work that I've been doing. So it's been good. And then just, fun times with the boys, going to the beach. One day when we're going to the beach tomorrow, we're going back to the same beach where Robbie dug a 5-foot hole. I think it's a little weird, but he had a great time just digging his way in the sand because he didn't want to just sit there. He wanted to be productive. So we're going back tomorrow. It's for some more digging, I guess.
Okay, I'll bite. What beach? I'm just curious.
That one was Island Beach State Park. He does not like to go to Belmar with me because the lifeguards won't let him dig the holes that deep.
Oh,
he's like, no, they yell at me. They make me stop at 2 feet. Like, he was literally in the hole. He had to like dig stairs into the hole to get out because there was no way I was helping him. Yes, Stephanie, the best beach is Island Beach State Park. And if you're a vaccinated individual in New Jersey, you get a free season pass for all state parks. And since it is a state park, we get on for free this year. So that's really nice. And this way, you're going with other vaccinated people.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I want to say hello to Tim Cavey, who has joined the chat tonight from the west coast of Canada. So Tim Cavey, host of Teachers on Fire, he complimented me on my frames, to which I'll say thank you, Tim. I was tired of being another bald white man with black glasses.
Scott Van Pelt.
Oh my goodness.
And Stephanie Scrocky is here. She's checking in. I believe she's watching on Twitter. So that's exciting. Dan Krynis, a newly minted vice principal, which is very exciting. So
Yay.
Shout out to Dan and the leader of learning. He's making moves professionally. So that's something for him. And we're just excited to be back. But tonight, and in this episode, we are talking about tips and tricks for new teachers. Now, the awesome thing is, the 3 of us, we are not brand new teachers, and the current people watching and chatting, they are not brand new teachers. So we're going to ask you up front, after we create this episode, share this episode with the new teachers in your life. If you are in a school building, share this with them in addition to talking with them, which is probably a tip that we have. Maybe the follow-up before we even give tips for new teachers, we should then give tips to teachers who are veterans and how they should interact with new teachers, because that's not always a clean process. And yeah. So, and hello to Batsheva Frankel, host of the
Overthrowing Education
podcast. Yes.
Sorry, you got a lot going on there. Welcoming people and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Just running the whole show. It's all good.
Yeah. On StreamYard. Did I mention StreamYard?
StreamYard. Good people.
Our
over
new
there,
sponsor.
StreamYard. It's right there up top.
All right. AJ, why don't you get us going here and help us dive into this topic of tips and tricks for new teachers?
Yeah, so it's really important for our new teachers. So I when I thought about this topic, when you brought this topic to us, Chris, I'll be honest. At first, I was like, new teachers. Like, okay, how are we going to handle new teachers? But I think it's really important that we, as you just said, as veterans, kind of welcome our new teachers in the building, whatever role that we're in, finding that time that we can talk to our new teachers, get to know our new teachers, and help them as best we can. Because I think that we know when we first started, for me, you're alone. You're all by yourself. You're trying to figure this out. You're grasping at straws. You're trying to keep your head, above the water, however you want to say it, but you're definitely alone. And I think for us as veterans, as connected educators with a large PLC, I think it's really important that we kind of guide them in the right direction, because a lot of districts, and I don't know out there who does what, but when I was in New York, my first 5 years, I was supposed to have a mentor teacher my first year, right? My mentor teacher got a stipend. I know in New Jersey, you actually pay your mentor, but in New York, they got a specific stipend. I saw that teacher who is my mentor maybe once every 3 months. And why once every 3 months? Because that's when we had our district-wide meeting for brand new teachers. And she was in my building. So she did not come to me. She didn't ask me questions. She did not check in with me. She did not give me advice. She got the stipend and she did a great job. I can't even tell you what her name was. So that just goes to show what our relationship was like. So for all of us, I think we have to get it started with new teachers. And I think the biggest thing that we should focus on for our new teachers is the idea of management. And I think there's two ways to look at management. It's time management for our new teachers and classroom management. Because if you can't figure those out, if your administration's coming in as a new teacher and you don't have that management, then you're not going to be there very long. So I think the first thing we should look at is time management and classroom management. So what say you? Let's go, Stacey. Which one do you want to tackle first? Time management or classroom management?
Both of them are really important. I want to say I'd rather start with classroom management because, that's where your kids will see the greatest impact, and you'll see the greatest impact from your students. Although time management is also critical, but I think with classroom management, one of the things that's key is getting to know your kids and getting to know what makes them tick, right? And I know I've mentioned on this show that one of the ways that I help build relationships is to use the book The First 6 Weeks of School. That is a responsive classroom book where we talk about building those relationships with our kids, introducing the classroom setting to them, creating that safe space, and that brave space. That's a new word that I learned this summer in some of the reading that I'm doing. But that brave space where it's okay to take risks, but creating that environment together with your class so that there's some ownership and some agency. And I think when you introduce things like your classroom rules, it's always important for me to create those rules with my students. In the end, we almost always develop the same 3, 4, or 5 rules, so it's take care of yourself, take care of the environment, take care of others, try your best and have fun. And we do that together by, talking about our goals for the year, our academic goals, our social goals, our emotional goals. And, Academics can be anything that you can learn at school. It's not necessarily what you learn in, B104 or B111 or A213, right? So, you might learn something with the PE teacher. And I've also learned that visiting with special area teachers, music, PE, you can learn a lot about classroom management from those teachers because they run a very different type of classroom. And a lot of times, I've gone in to see the music teacher, hold a chorus lesson. And that is amazing. It's astounding because there's all of these people beyond the 24 that you see every day. She's managing 5 or 6 classes, sometimes more, and doing it solo and like just picking up some of those clues. And as a first year teacher, I encourage new teachers to go in and just kind of look for the tips and tricks. Don't be afraid to ask the questions. Hey, my kids had issues lining up. What's one way that I can make that a more seamless process? Hey, my kids like to talk when they're online, or they got, they're having some difficulty moving through the hallways. What are some tips and tricks there? And just observing, being a silent observer is also very helpful, and reflection. So classroom management with all of those things is very helpful. At least it was for me.
Right. And I think, I think every level is going to be different when it comes to management. You brought up a lot of ideas there that are super important to where you're at. I think for a lot of management that I was part of as middle school, it's like, own the classroom. Don't smile. Like, don't smile. Who are you talking to? Don't smile. So that was always the management that I was told, which always bothered me. And to this day, like, don't smile. Don't smile until December. Like, for what? Like, it sends a wrong tone. Chris, what's the worst advice you got in regards to classroom management?
It's similar to what you just said, where it's like, it's your classroom, your way or the highway. You have to, you're the boss. You have to dominate the kids. Like it's your space. And it sounds like you, and I think also with Stacey, that didn't sit right with me. Right. When I think of classroom management, in addition to what Stacey said, I also think of the relationships and the rapport that you can build with your students, right? Now, most of my career has been spent at the middle or higher, mostly high school, right? And communicating and, again, building a positive relationship with the students has always been really important to me. Not because, actually, let me say this. Early on, probably, 10, 12 years ago, I wanted the kids to like me. Now I don't care. Take me or leave me. I don't care if you like me or not. Right? Because as I've matured, I know that not every student's going to like me. So that's not important. Right? And I'm not going to like every kid. That's human interaction. Right? I'm there to teach you. Right? So whether I like you or not, whether you like me or not, we've got something we need to accomplish in the classroom. Okay. But getting there and, communicating openly and being honest with kids and treating them like human beings, that's really important and really critical. And that's one of the things that has improved as I've gone on in my career. And it's not something that a new teacher can instantly do on day one, right? I think even still today in 2021, 2022, the new teacher is probably going to want the kids to like them. And if we can dissuade you from pretending you are in the grade level you're teaching, that's not important, right? So that's my thoughts on that.
I like that.
That's the bad advice I got. Yeah.
No, I think that's really true. Like, I can't explain how much I was like, man, I really want this to go well. I want these kids to like me. I want to be the favorite teacher. But I think that was hurting my teaching because I wasn't doing a good enough job actually teaching. Let's finish up with classroom management. Stacey, what's something that you would tell a new teacher now that you were not told your first year?
Wow, something I would for classroom management.
For any,
I don't want to say that
I
don't want to say that I knew it all, but I have to say I had a really exceptional mentor who tried to instill in me all the things that she thought were important. Right. So I think the thing that I would share, because I tried to emulate her, is, take what you know is going to work for you, or try some things out. And when they don't be afraid to pivot. Right. So like, I really wanted to be just like my mentor teacher. She was a rock star. So unlike you, AJ, I still see her to this day. We haven't seen each other in the past year or so because of COVID. But prior to that, we were still meeting every summer. And so I did learn a lot from her, but I eventually learned that I couldn't be my mentor, right? Like I had to be me. And so trying out some of the things she was doing, if it didn't work for me the same way it worked for her, it was okay. I could do it my own way and still yield the same results. And so don't be afraid to pivot when things don't go right or don't go the way you expect them to. Because there is no one right way.
No, it's perfect. Pivot. Friends, fans out there. No, that's great. I think it's great. Chris, do you have any other advice that you would give a new teacher besides don't try to make everybody like you?
I would say be honest with your kids at any grade level and communicate with them in an age appropriate way, but be a little more transparent than you're probably taught in your teacher preparation program, right? I would imagine that the younger learner still thinks the teacher lives in the classroom and, until you're spotted in the grocery store, your kids don't believe you don't leave the school.
Right.
So, let them know your likes, your dislikes, right? If you want them to open up with you, you've got to open up and communicate things about yourself to them. So I would advise any new teacher and any veteran teacher who is reluctant to do that to be a little more transparent and open with the students.
That's great advice, Chris, because my first day in the classroom, I'd always say to the kids, ask me anything. And I was like, make it appropriate, but ask me anything you want to. And I was open to any question. If the question was not something I felt comfortable answering, I would just say, I can't answer that one. Give me something different. And I think that really opened up, as we talk about the next part here, the relationships, because without AMA with Mr. Bianco,
ask me anything.
Ask me anything.
No, I like that. Yeah, but no, that was my philosophy. Just ask me whatever you want to. I was an open book for one day. And after that, I said, if they ask me a personal question, like during class time, that wasn't appropriate, so that's fine. So that builds the relationships.
And actually, I think that speaks to Mel A's point earlier in the chat. She said, I'll pull it up here. I think it's really hard to start like that, open and build relationships, because you will feel that you need to set ground rules and whatnot so things aren't out of control. So I don't think we're advocating for, your classroom turns into Neverland. The Peter Pan, not the other one. Anyway.
Everybody got to hate on Michael.
We're not advocating for, no boundaries, no rules, but, this has to, I think the relationship and the rapport is a part of that classroom management. Don't build your classroom rules where you walk in on day one and the kids come into your classroom and you've already posted the 10 don't do the followings, but take the time. And I think, Stacey, you've talked about this before and we've seen it in other places. Build those rules and regulations and expectations, as a better word even, with your students so they take ownership of the learning space. So
yeah,
Chris, you just hit on that. And that's really important too. I think if you're talking to new teachers, make sure they don't have the don't do list. I think that's something that needs to change in classrooms. It goes back to that restorative practice piece. It's not don't do. It's in this classroom, in this school, we do.
Or we can.
I like that. Yeah. Get rid of the don'ts. I can't explain like my list in my first couple of years. Like, don't be late. Don't chew gum. Like really? Like I look at it now. Like I wanted to punch myself in the face my first couple of years. That was awful.
Oh, my early high school syllabi would have like bold and underlined. You will not. And it was like, you will not. And
right.
Man.
Don't show up late to my class.
Oh my class.
And then what? Then what are you going to do? Because the kids still showed up late.
Well, and part of the classroom management piece to that too is like logical consequences for like those infractions that are going to come up, right? So like what
If you chew
happens
gum
when
in the 5th grade, you will not graduate high school.
right? So like just making sure that your consequences are logical and meaningful. And I always try to like invite kid input in what they think their consequence should be. Right. But I'm telling you, if you're an educator at the elementary level, pretty much until middle school, the first 6 weeks of school is definitely something that I think you'll get something useful out of. I don't know. It's something I go back to every year.
Don't just start with curriculum. How about that?
Oh no. But that's what the
gonna
first
be
week
more important than ever as we start the new school year.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. For sure.
I'm going to throw in here that I'm looking forward to teaching my brand new students how to go to school, because the 9th graders I'll be teaching this year, a far majority of them will not have attended physical school since they were in the 7th grade.
Yeah. How to make it through a full day.
Chris, my kids haven't attended physical school since they were 7.
Ow.
Right.
That's crazy.
I mean, they'll only be like 10 and 11, but yeah.
Well, speaking of crazy, the other management, as AJ alluded to, is time management, right? And I'll go so far as to say that time management, I think, can be broken into 2 pieces. The first would be time management in your classroom, right? And your own actual time management of like your life now that you are a teacher, you're in that full-time job. And we got a lot of people who chimed in on social media that we're going to get to. So we've got a lot of time management tips. So I will just start off by saying that time is going by the minute and the second, right? And when it comes to time management for the actual teaching and instruction, tomorrow will get here. If you plan something that's supposed to be, 45 minutes and you don't finish it, it's not the end of the world, right? Because if we're going to use Stacey's great word of pivot, you never know when those interesting moments are going to happen in your classroom, teachable moments, downright distractions that can happen. So there are going to be things that you could write the most perfect. Your professor in college would have given you 100 on your lesson plan, and welcome to the real world where you could almost 2-3 times a week just toss your lesson plan out the window because something's going to happen. Kid's going to be absent, announcements, fire drills, right? So there's all sorts of distractions that are going to pull at your time, and you're going to very quickly learn that time is almost non-existent in a school as a teacher. Even though you got a bell or you've got your schedule, time is precious and you've got to be flexible with your time.
I like Stephanie's advice: make the plan, execute the plan, throw the plan away. That's pretty much it, right? Like it's make the plan. But when you talk about, so Chris, you're talking about time management in the classroom and then like time management in your personal life. Like what would be your number one thing in each of those areas to focus on?
I would say when it comes to the teaching part of time management, make effective use of your time while you are in school. Whether you have your planning period, your prep period, if you're elementary and your students go to their specials, right? And you've got that time, make use of that time for grading and planning and tweaking and reflecting, right? Use the time in school for school as best you can, right? Because that will have a direct impact on your time outside of school, where if we're going to talk about work-life balance and, not feeling overwhelmed on the weekends or after school or, staying at school until 7-8 o'clock at night, the folks that do that, I do not know why. I think that that's ineffective time management to some degree. If you're not taking your work home with you, but you're not getting home till 10 o'clock at night, that's a problem. You're not really that effective. So use your time wisely in school so you can make effective use of your time outside of school. And by that, I mean, if you're going to create that work-life balance, try to leave school at school. You know, again, that's going to be challenging because, you know, if you're doing this all for the first time, you're doing it for the first time, right? When I walk into my classroom as where I'm going to be, 10 years this year, I kind of know what my year looks like. You know, what I want to cover first, my first unit. And yeah, I'm not repeating the same, lessons because, doing the projects and stuff, I'm trying to keep it innovative and fresh for myself, right? But for the most part, I know what I'm going to do. If you're fresh out of college, it's overwhelming because it's all new. You don't have the resources, and we've got tips and advice for that. So yeah, I'll be quiet. AJ, Stacey, what do you got?
I was talking to my sister today, and one of the things she said for management, for like personal management, I guess this can fall under time management. She said one of the tips that she always got was only touch a piece of paper once. So whether it's coming from your mailbox or coming from a student, take care of it then and there. Don't let it pile up. Don't put it down. And that's definitely something that I don't do.
There's an acronym for that. It's Ohio. Only handle it once.
Ohio?
Ohio. Only handle it once.
Interesting. I like it. I never heard that before. When she said that to me, I was like, I've never heard that tip before in any way whatsoever. So cool. Ohio.
Yeah.
My initial thought was, what's paper?
You're good.
Yeah. Welcome to elementary, Chris. Your kids don't have paper? No. So my piece of advice, and I say this to myself, even as I enter my 20th year, is like Chris, what you said about leaving some of the work at school, is to not take home the things that I know I'm never going to get to. I have a habit of like just loading it all in my bag. I bring it in the house. I put it in the same spot every day. And every morning I pick it up and it goes back outside with me. And I don't even touch it. I don't look at it. And I need to get better at knowing like that I'm at setting my boundaries and then actually adhering to those boundaries. So like if my boundary is like tonight, I'm just going to sit and veg, or tonight I'm going to look at digital things, or tonight I'm going to read, or tonight I'm lesson planning. I don't need to go home with all of the student work unless I need student information to inform my lesson, which, like you're saying, if I do that during my prep, then I don't need to go home with that stuff. I don't need to look at my computer. So just kind of taking care of that boundary and not bringing home the teacher bag that just never gets touched. And then the other thing I would say for time management, and AJ, this kind of goes with what your sister was telling you with like only touch a piece of paper once. Resetting your space is a really effective way to end your day, so that when you go in the morning, your desk is already clear and your things are already set up, so that, like if you have like your math things out where they need to be, and your science is set up the way it needs to be, and you're set up for social studies and reading and writing, that reset is just a really great way to go in and it's like, okay, this is what I set up for today. And now here are just like the last 2 or 3 things I need to do, so that your entire morning isn't like a cluster of activity to get yourself ready. And I say that as a person who gets to school an hour and a half before I'm supposed to report. And don't make faces at me.
I'm making faces at you. I wish I can get there that early these days.
You know what it is? It's I'm no longer beholden to my kids' schedule in the morning. I'm not dropping anyone off at the before school program. I don't have to make sure anyone's getting on a bus. Like they're old enough where they can get themselves on the bus. This year, they're both getting on the same bus. So that will also be its own like little bit of like sigh of relief, because they're both going to the same school. It's the first time, guys, in like 4 years. So that's exciting for me.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's part of your management now. You have a different way you can handle your mornings.
Yeah. And so it's made it a lot easier. So.
All right. So what's one tip that, I'm going to let me ask the same question I asked before. What's one tip about management for time management that you would give a new teacher right now that you were not told, or that you would kind of change completely?
I'm going to stick with my teacher bag thing.
Okay.
Because I'm still working on that one. And I'm going to say, like, all of these tips and tricks, like, here's a tip, right? Like time management. You're going to hear it now and it may not click right now. Listen to this episode again next year when you're still relatively new, or listen to it again in December or after the winter break, and just kind of do a reset. Like, okay, because you're ready for new information at different points. And like all of this is going to hit you at once, as well as like all of the things that you need to do as a teacher. And just know that when you're ready, the information will break through whatever kind of gobbledygook that it's suffering from.
Chris, same question.
My tip would be my tip would be with time management with regards to this is don't be afraid to leave something to tomorrow. There is not much on any teacher's plate that is so urgent and so important that it must be done today. There's not much. Okay. So don't be afraid to leave it till tomorrow. Leave it till Monday if it's a Friday. It'll be fine. It'll be okay.
What about you, AJ?
For time management?
Mm-hmm.
You're asking the wrong guy. Look, I'm awful with time management. Everything you guys are saying here are things that I am awful at. My bag is full every day.
Mine too. I'm saying it for me.
No, right. I bring it home and I say, I'm going to do this when I get home because I don't want to stay in the office anymore. It's almost 4:00. I'd like to go home and play with the kids. Do I do it when I go home? No, I have not. This has been a very rough summer that I think everything is kind of caught up to me, that like I've worked so much at home that now when I get home, I just want to be home, if that makes any sense. So my bag is full and it keeps going back and forth every single day. Right. With lesson planning, again, that was something I was like, I'll do it when I get home. I can do it while I watch a TV show, and I'm doing this, that, and the other thing, or I'll save my lesson planning for Sunday when I'm watching football. That was always the thing that I would do. If I just spent more time during my prep periods at school, my lunch period, whatever the case may be, then I would have had better time management to get things done. If I was doing my grading or creating projects during that time, that would have been really, really helpful. So for time management, if I was giving a new teacher advice, use your time wisely, right? I guess that'd be the only thing I could say, because, I look at time and it's already the middle of August and I'm like, oh, I forgot to do, or I haven't done, or I'm not at the point where I'm ready to do so many things. So yeah.
I'm with you. And that's another time management trick, right? Like you have your list of like 20 things, rip that in half and then rip it in half again and focus on that top. Right. Yeah. And
maybe that's something that I would offer for time management, is really like something I didn't do that I'm starting to do more of, is find a better planner or use your phone, Gmail reminders better. And I know this is, if Tim Cavey is still listening, Tim Cavey has been big on using the tasks in Gmail better. And that's something that I would like to do as well, because the way they can set up and pop on your phone or pop on your watch while you're out in the building, that's a big piece of like management. Getting a planner that you can set your goals better and breaking your goals down to like A, B, C, and D, putting your priorities in order. Maybe that's really that. You know what? That's my tip for new teachers. Set up a task list, A, B, C, and D. Put them in priority order from A, B, C, and D, that you're going to tackle this during this time. That it's not something you have to do now. It's not urgent. Here's your important. Here's your less important.
I've stopped listening to the 5 a.m. Miracle, but I know that Jeff Sanders used to talk about productivity in that way and creating like he would call them FBOTs, those focus blocks of time where you would do certain things. And he also, I know, spoke very highly of like that quadrant system where it's like pressing tasks and then like, I don't remember all four.
Covey's
that's what it is. Yep. Right. So Stephen Covey.
Yep.
And so like working in that area, and I would highly recommend taking a look at that if you are struggling with those priorities and building that, building a system for yourself to kind of prioritize the task list that you create for yourself. There's a lot of chatter going on in our chat about whether or not we should have email on our phones. And I know that this can be a significant time suck. And I also know that it can be a boundary that some teachers set for themselves. So I'm just wondering, guys, where do you fall in that category? Like, are you anti-email on your phone? Or are you anti email after a certain hour? What does that look like for you? How do you handle your email?
Chris, mind if I jump on this one real quick? So my philosophy is emails on my phone, right? Even as a teacher, so it's not just my role right now. Even as a teacher, if I got an email, I wanted to know about it before I came into the building the next day. So I would check my email at all times. I didn't care when the email was there, and I still do the same thing, because if a parent has a concern right now, if a teacher needs me at a certain time of the day, I'm walking around the building, I don't have my computer with me, I have to have the email at my fingertips. It's on my watch, it's on my phone. I need to know that my email is available to me. So my email is open to me 24 hours a day. Okay. Like even with the iPhone having the ability to mute different applications at a certain time, the email is not something I mute from my district email account. From a personal email, I'm not going to answer that. But my rule is I will not send an email to my staff after 5 o'clock. You know, they're home, they're done for the day. If I need something that badly, I'll find a way to get in touch with them. But I will not email until after 5 o'clock until 7:30 the next morning. So if I have an email that needs to get out first thing, I'll type it up. I'll schedule it in Gmail to go out at 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah, so AJ, I'm with you. I have email on my phone for the very reason that you do. I don't like surprises. I don't want to walk in, start at my computer at 7:15, 7:30 in the morning, and then see that like a kid's having a meltdown. Like I want to be able to brainstorm that the night before if that's when I receive the email. And I want to be able to reach out to admin because our admin's awesome. And, you know, we have their phone numbers. So I can text any of the three of them and say like, hey, this is going on. Don't need an answer now, but maybe we need to like have something in place for whatever. Or, you know, just even like just the ability to have that side conversation with my co-teacher last year and again for this year, to create that plan ahead of time so that it's not, you know, we walk in, our kids come at 8:40 and like, you know, we haven't been able to have that conversation. At least we can start some text conversation or whatever. Or you can just choose to ignore it. I will say I very rarely respond to anything unless it looks like it's like critical. If a parent emails me about homework or emails me about yada, 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 it is one of the first things I do.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's part of how I prioritize my task list in the morning. And then I know, oh, I have to reach out to, you know, to Caitlin's mom or dad because they sent me an email about snack, or they sent me an email about, or I have to reach out to Miles's dad because he has a concern about bullying. But then I can already like, I'm already thinking like, all right, I'm reaching out to those parents. I also need to inform my admin about the bullying, and I need to get the school counselor involved because then all of those pieces are in place first thing in the morning. And I will send that email out at night to those people, not to the parents. That's the boundary I have. And the same thing with kids. I will not email them. And I tell them, I was like, guys, if you need a quick answer, don't send it to me after 3:30 because you're not getting one. And, you know, we're done at 3:30. So hopefully you ask all your questions right away.
Makes sense.
What about you, Chris?
I agree with some of your reasons, both of you. I do not have my school email on my phone because most days my computer here at home in the evenings, I'm on it, right? So I will check my email in the evening as late as 10:30, 11, again, because I don't like surprises either. But as far as having it with me on the go, I know Tim Cavey mentioned that, you know, he can save time online at the food store, you know, checking email. Sorry, I don't want to be bothered with my school email while I'm at the food store, right? So, but that's where I will draw the line. I will check my email outside of work time, but it's on my home computer. So I'm not always I'm not checking school email on the weekend on my phone when I'm on the go, right? But I'll check it on over the weekend when I'm sitting at my computer. So that's right. So all those same reasons of why I would check it after school time, I agree with. Just having it with me all the time, that's where I personally draw a line.
And I think that's why I have the notifications on, because then I don't have to go into it and actually like read it. I can see I got an email from, X company trying to sell me something versus I got an email from parent X who needs me. That's a different story. Then I can say, all right, this is nothing. Swipe that away. Instead of digging in and kind of spending time reading emails, I look first, then dig in if I need to.
Yeah. Agreed.
All right.
I do like your boundary, AJ, that you have set up that you're not sending your staff email after 5.
I think it's just fair.
It's just appreciated. It sends a message that like I respect your time at home.
Yeah, when you're home, you're home. I mean, I'm going to say it like this, and I don't mean it like this, but when I'm home, I want to be home. But I'm in a different position that when I'm home, I still have to be on in case of emergency.
Right, but you're also setting up an expectation for teachers that they can turn off. Yeah, right, that they have permission, and I feel that when everybody became one-to-one and communication with students became so immediate and instantaneous, teachers didn't know that they had the ability to say no.
Turn off. Absolutely.
And there definitely, in some cases, wasn't permission from admin, right? Or even from themselves to say, like, I can turn this off, right? Like, and setting up those boundaries for your staff sends a message that you too can set these boundaries up for your student. Like after 4:30, after whatever given time it's going to be, I will not communicate with you. So start your homework early, do what you need to do, and just know that like by the time I leave school at 4:30, then your stuff all needs to start being handled. Or we'll have a conversation when you arrive at school at 8:40 in the morning.
Now, I did set up boundaries with my students over the last year. Again, working with high school students, 9th graders, I told them, I said, you could email me anytime because, you live your life, you're on one time schedule, I'm on another. I said, but just know this, while you could email me at 11:30, midnight, that's fine. I said, I'm probably not going to get to it till I get to school. I'm sleeping, So I let them know, yeah, you can reach out to me. You voice your concerns, ask your questions. You can send an email anytime you want. But I said, these are the time periods where I am more likely to see it and be able to respond to you as quick as you might need me to respond. So it got to a point with some students where I would have to tell them, I got your email with your concern, but you were working on blank and blank assignment and you emailed me at 1:00 in the morning. Sorry, I didn't see the email, that kind of stuff. So it all depends. And again, being elementary or, being the administrator, we all have different scenarios. It's just a matter of, if you're the new teacher, try it. Try putting an email on your phone. See how it goes. Try it without. See how it goes. But I think there's enough in here that we said where you can kind of pick and choose and see what's going to work for you. Because, everything we've said and will say, it's not set in stone as you must do exactly what Chris, AJ, and Stacey are sharing. Pick and choose. Try.
I think the most important thing you said there was the boundaries. Just letting it be known that, my job is, I shouldn't say job. My time in school is done at 4:00. After 4:00, I will check my email sporadically. So don't expect me to get right back to you. I think that's what you have to say. And if you use a contract in your classroom, I know it's very middle school that I say there, or very elementary school that you say bring in the contracts, but that you put it in there, plain and simple. Here's my expectations. Here are my boundaries. Here's when you can expect to hear from me.
All right. So we've been having a fantastic conversation as we come up on the almost hour mark. We're 50 minutes into this episode, and there are a number of topics that we have kind of lined up that again deal further with relationships with colleagues, relationships with your admin, your students, your parents, your key building personnel, custodians, secretaries, etc. Those support staff that are also important to how a school operates. And we don't want to change those topics. So behind the scenes, a little bit about how we make the sausage here on Podcast PD. We are going to push those into our next episode so we can devote almost as equal the amount of time so we can do those topics justice and still provide you with tips. But before we go today, we are going to share some feedback we got via social media from listeners like you who answered the call and either sent us a voicemail or shared on Twitter. So we want to share some tips in this episode, and we will also share more tips from you in the next episode. But first, as we said, we have a new sponsor here on the show, and that is StreamYard. And StreamYard is a live streaming studio in your browser. It's how we produce the very show you are listening to or watching live right now. And we've been using it for over a year right here on Podcast PD. StreamYard lets you interview guests. You can take calls. That's right. podcastpd.com/join. You could join the show and come on with us. It allows you to visually brand your live stream. So if all the graphics you see, we made, and they are on the screen. It looks pretty. And with StreamYard, you can directly live stream to multiple platforms. So we are simulcasting to YouTube and Twitter and Twitch, and you can also stream to Facebook and LinkedIn and a bunch of other places. All right. So if you want to learn more about live streaming and doing something like this, but maybe at even a higher quality than what we do, go to podcastpd.com/StreamYard. And thank you to StreamYard for sponsoring Podcast PD.
Thanks, StreamYard.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Stacey, it looks like you highlighted some of our social media feedback. So thank you for that. And why don't you share some, AJ? You got the show notes up. We'll bounce around. We'll share the highlighted items. So these are tips and tricks for new teachers via social media.
Yeah, so I wanted to stick with the ideas that kind of fit with what we talked about tonight, whether it be classroom management or time management, finding your mentor, setting those boundaries, and creating a work-life balance. So we'll start with Sean Scanlon. He is a Polo Nerd. And he says, don't hesitate to ask questions from veteran teachers and don't try to do too much. You can't do everything the first year. And my good friend Jessica Veralt at Jessica Veralt, she echoes that sentiment and says, don't hesitate to ask questions or to ask someone to teach you to do or use something that can really benefit your students. Also, don't be afraid to share your own ideas. And I know as a new teacher, even as a 5th or 6th year teacher, I was not sharing out my ideas because I never felt that they had value. And I think that once I learned to get over that a little bit and share small, that was very helpful for me. So thank you to Sean and Jessica for sharing. AJ, you want to read the next two?
Sure. Next two. Very simple here. Dr. Kim Ramadan at Kim Ramadan. Find positive educators to be your people, practice self-care, ask for help. So I think that the theme here is to ask for help and find your PLN, right? I think that's a big one. We have Ruth Replogle at Ruth Replogle. We'll put her name in the show notes. Has a couple here. So number 1, find a mentor. If your school does not assign one, find somebody who will answer your questions, show you where to get supplies, and navigate the school's culture. Number 2, get plenty of sleep. You can't get too much. I disagree. Sleep's overrated.
Wait, can I jump into that mentor thing that if your school doesn't assign one, find someone who will answer your questions and help you around school? That's key. I've worked in 3 different school districts, and I've been, even in my current district, I've been in multiple buildings, and it's nice to have someone to kind of show you the ropes of just that building or just that district, even if it is not your first year. When I re-entered the classroom in year, I think it was 18 of my career, it felt like I was a brand new teacher all over again. And I'll never forget the 2 beautiful young ladies who came up to me and introduced themselves, and they're 2 of my very best friends at school. And it's been really lovely working and growing with them. And they kind of like showed me the ropes of my current building, and I will be eternally grateful.
I dig it.
Agreed. Next up, we got feedback from Shayna Martin at SMartinWI on Twitter. She says, "Be yourself. Kids can see right through you if you are not genuine." Yes, kids are not stupid.
They're really not.
Refrans Davis at Refrans Davis on Twitter says, quote, "It's okay to put your own mental health first." I'm going to repeat that. This is Chris repeating that. It's okay to put your own mental health first. It's okay to prioritize yourself once you leave that campus. In other words, don't take your work home with you.
Don't have that teacher bag.
Yes. Teacher bags brought to you by Stacey.
I have so many. Tim Belmont at at T Belmont EDU says, "Go easy on yourself. It's not going to be perfect. And don't be afraid to ask for help or advice." And he adds on, "Keep your life outside of school a priority." And, it's nice seeing that so many of our listening audience, our live listening audience, has an outside life. Like, I love the tour of Canada that Tim Cavey has been giving us this entire summer and does all year long. Like, I just want to go into that very blue water. I'm excited that Canada has opened the borders to us. So I think that's right. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But my next
I was going to say, thanks, Tim. Your tour videos are so good. I don't have to go to Canada.
Oh, I want to go paddleboarding and I want to go hiking and I want to just see all the things that Tim gets to see firsthand, because he does make it look pretty freaking awesome. And then Ryan Gutch at BBT Trivia says, "Try your best to separate work and home. Leave school mail off your phone." So there's another vote for not having your school mail on your phone. I think you've heard many different arguments tonight, and you're adults. You get to manage children. You can manage your own phone however you want, but just know that there are definitely both sides of a very good argument there.
So we got some more here. Dan Whalen at Whalen. You can check the show notes again. A couple more tips here. 1, take care of yourself. Sleep, hydrate, eat as best as you can. Be kind to yourself is number 2. Be kind to yourself if you don't follow rule number 1. 3 hours of sleep and a piece of cake from the lounge for lunch will happen. Just reset tomorrow. Okay.
He's talking about consistency. So if you're not going to follow rule number 1,
I don't know where you're getting a piece of cake from.
Oh, your lounge doesn't have that kind of stuff?
No, nobody's lounge would have that stuff right now. Number 3, smile and have fun with your kids. The rest will come with time. Another one here from Cindy Assini at Cindy Assini. You can be effective while having work-life boundaries. A lot of work-life boundaries here. That's amazing. Lean on colleagues, prioritize more work at the expense of healthy habits is not better. Part of our job is teaching, leading through example, by being a healthy, whole human. Nurture yourself physically, emotionally, socially, financially, and spiritually. In addition to doing what you enjoy, self-care looks like setting boundaries, getting a financial planner, and eating nourishing food. A lot of self-care. Okay. Tips I would not have gotten my first year. Never would have gotten these tips. Do I think self-care is important? Yeah, I guess.
The uncommitted endorsement from AJ.
There you go. All right, we got 2 more. Next up, Rich Chiz, former guest of this very podcast. He is at RA Chiz on Twitter, and he says, "Find the person that will support you, motivate you, help you through year 1. It may not be your grade level or department colleagues or even someone in your own school. Don't be afraid to connect with others outside your school. And always take charge of your own PD." Of course, Rich is going to say that. Thank you, Rich. And he has also shared a resource with us, 12 days of secret sauce tips, which we will include in our show notes.
Yeah, there are a bunch of really cool graphics.
/102.
Sorry. He shared a bunch of really cool graphics that I guess he did during the 12 days of secret sauce, which is his most recent book.
Nice.
Want to read that last one, Chris?
The last one we got that we're going to share today is from Una Abrams. She is at Unziella on Twitter, and she says, "Don't be like I was in 1996. Smile every day and often." So that brings
and she
it
is
full
also
circle.
a former host, or a former guest. Sorry, former guest on the show. She talked to us about Nerd Camp when we had those types of events.
Yes, and those events will return. The world, again, as long as you put your freaking mask on, things will get better. Just going to throw it out there. We've got some audio feedback, and we've got some additional tweets that we will include in our next episode. So share this episode 103, with a new teacher in your life, and life will be good. This is a fun conversation.
This was good, and I'm glad we're breaking it up because I do feel like, all new teachers are new teachers for 180 days. And sometimes year 2 still feels like you're a new teacher. And sometimes year 18 feels like you're a new teacher. So it's all there. It's all good. It's all quality. And we're here to bring you a quality show. So we don't want to skip over and skimp on some of the other ideas that we had to share with you. So we'll be sharing soon.
And speaking of not skimping, we do have our what we're listening to, and AJ is going to be sharing a podcast recommendation with you. So we're going to include that. But first, if you get value from our conversations, you could become an executive producer of PodcastPD. You can show your support on a monthly or a yearly basis. And if you go to podcastpd.com/executive producer, you can become a producer of the show, and all executive producers will get a special Podcast PD sticker that you can prominently display on any surface that accepts stickers. And if you support us for a year, we will send you a fancy mug and a very nice t-shirt. So if you want to support the show, that's one way you can do it. Go to podcastpd.com/executive producer. Thank you to Mike Brilla, Stephanie Scrocky, and Sandy Hartman, our current EPs. AJ, what have you been listening to?
All right, so I got 2. I'm going to give both podcasts here, if that's okay.
Okay.
2.
All right. 2. I'm giving 2. So you talk about self-care. This is my self-care. Okay. And I put it in quotes because these are things that I do when I'm not working, and sometimes things I do when I am working. So it's not really self-care. It's just what I like to do. The 2 podcasts I am listening to that you should get down with. First of all, they're Spotify originals. So you have to listen to them through Spotify. Sorry. Okay. The first one is called The Rewatchables. And if you are a movie person, this podcast goes through a variety of movies that I'm sure you have seen. So this is from the Ringer Podcast Network, and it's from Bill Simmons, who is a sports reporter. I don't know how you want to call him, but anyway, he brings on people he talks about from the Ringer universe, and he discusses movies that we can't stop watching. And I'm telling you, a lot of the movies that you'll sit there, you're like, yes, I remember this one. I love it. And then you're going to sit there and listen to it and get other people's point of views, and you're going to want to watch it again. So I was doing a lawn today, and I was listening to the Rewatchables episode on the movie Speed. So
Ooh, good movie.
Yeah. And he's got a lot of good movies on there. A lot of ones that, like, I've been kind of digging into a bunch of episodes of movies that I know that I can close my eyes and know exactly the scene. Like he did a Coming to America, and I was quoting the movie before he was quoting it. So I know the two of you have never seen Coming to America.
No, I watched it.
Sure you did. Sure you did.
No, I did.
Okay. All right. Well, Coming to America is one of my favorite movies. So watch Coming to America, listen to the Rewatchables about Coming to America, and you'll laugh like crazy. So there's that one.
Oh, there's Mrs. Doubtfire on here.
And that was actually a really good episode. So a lot of what he does, he kind of goes through. It's like in the cast. So they do this thing called half-ass internet research, where he kind of looks at like facts, and he finds people who like turn down he turns people who turn down the movies. So he's like, how about if it was recast with this person instead of Robin Williams? And it's good. People he has on there. It's funny. It's a little vulgar, so keep it away from the kids if you have youngies. Ready for the next one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The next one has been my summer blockbuster, and a shout out to the principal of my school, my, I guess, principal to my assistant principal, Ryan. Good job with this one. It's called 60 Songs That Explain the 90s. So 90s kids out there, if you are in the 90s, I'm telling you, Chris, you started listening to this, right?
Yes, I did.
The songs and the music that is being shared on this podcast just brings you back. And the guy who does this, I'll explain this one in a second, 60 Songs That Explain the 90s, really digs into the 90s music. And he has some legit facts that you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't know that. And you wouldn't know that because you're not listening to a podcast in the 90s, but now you are 30 years later. So this is another Ringer podcast, a gentleman named Rob Harvilla. He creates this. So I'll read the little catch here. The 90s were a turning point in music, with the increasingly connected world enabling an unprecedented coalescence of various styles of genres. The decade featured the rapid evolution of sonic artistry and subsequently shaped the soundscape of eras that followed. So the Ringers podcast here goes through 60 songs that define the decade of the 90s, and it is fantastic. They give you the backstory, they tell you who's in it, they tell you about the song itself, then they play the song at the end so you can get all nostalgic. And I remember I was here when I heard this song for the first time, and it's great. And you have a whole month of August that you can catch up because he's on a break right now, but he's at like 40 songs so far. So he's got 20 more to go. And this is another podcast that if you want to, you can kind of bounce through your favorite songs, but I listen to them in order because I started from the first one because some of them actually he touches on other episodes. So there you go. 2 podcasts for you. That's not about education, 60 songs that explain the 90s and the rewatchables. Enjoy them.
Oh my God, this is awesome. I'm sitting here singing all of these in my head. I might start
Stacey,
this on the way
what
to
are some of
pick up my
the
son.
what are some of the titles? Just share out a couple.
Let's see. Nothing But a G Thing. No Scrubs, TLC. Oh, I love
really
that
good
album.
episode.
Loved that album so very much. Shania Twain, Man, I Feel Like a Woman. I feel like that's when like the country was introduced to country music in a poppy kind of way. And it's just like one of my favorite songs right now is Jax's 90s Kid. And so when you said that, AJ, oh, you have to listen to it. It's
no idea.
It's fun. I want you to go find that song and listen. It's just like it's about being a kid in the 90s and yeah, you would get it. Having a Tamagotchi.
Tamagotchi, sick.
Yes.
Sick.
Yes.
So a lot of these
go ahead.
A lot of these episodes, I was a huge fan of a lot of them. There was a couple that like weren't great, but I think I don't want. Yeah, I didn't listen to that one. Actually, no, I did. You know what? Hold on, let me go back. I wasn't going to listen to the Bjork episode, but I listened to because I don't know any song by Bjork, but I listened to it and I was like, okay.
Did they explain anything about her swan dress?
No, but they explain a little bit about her and her music, which was actually kind of interesting and how it led to other people who are making music in the 90s. Fun fact. One of the ones that I'm trying to find it right now, one of the ones that I wasn't going to listen to and I did listen to was, where is she right now? I can't remember. Sinead O'Connor.
I was going to say Sinead O'Connor.
Enjoy that one.
She is so cool.
There was a crazy thing with Prince that was on that episode that like had me like this listening. I was like, no, that really happened. So enjoy 60 songs that explain the 90s.
That's awesome. But I'm just saying, Gangster Paradise. Oh, so good. That's what I need. A new podcast. Thanks, AJ. Chris is genuine. I'm like,
they're quick listens. I promise. The rewatchables is not a quick listen, but these are quick listens.
It's 58 minutes, 55 minutes.
It goes very quickly.
All right. I'll listen to it fast and then play the song at the end normal.
Sometimes I didn't do it. I didn't usually play the song at the end unless I really wanted to hear it.
The song I can give up time to.
I did not listen to Bjork or Sinead O'Connor. I'll tell you that much.
I wonder if Spotify has a playlist based on this podcast.
Oh, you can add the songs to a playlist if you really want.
I know, but I'm just saying like it should already exist. Spotify, if you're listening.
Yeah, that's who's listening right now. We can't even get new teachers to listen. You think Spotify's listening?
Hey, new teachers are so new they don't know about us yet. It's okay.
Right.
Yet. Got to have that growth mindset mentality.
Yet.
AJ.
That's me and my growth mindset.
Put a bow on it,
Right.
Stace. We're over an hour here.
All right, we are over an hour here, and I do have to go get my kid, where I will be listening to AJ's new recommendations. But guys, thank you so much for joining us for our new season. I don't know, do we do seasons? Anyway, thanks for joining us after our little bit of a hiatus. Happy New Year to those of you who are back. On that note, Chris, it is time to say good night, Christopher.
Good night, Christopher.
AJ, good night, AJ.
Good night, AJ.
All right. Good night, Podcast PD. Welcome new teachers and Happy New Year to everyone.
See you August 29th.